Being a teenager can feel like the whole world is telling you to reinvent yourself, to be someone newer, cooler, and totally different. But what if the real power move isn't about changing yourself, but about getting fiercely rooted in the amazing person you already are? To show us how to tune out that noise and tune into the real you, we are super excited to welcome 16-year-old author, mental health advocate, and the founder of Uplift Teens Today. We have Tanvi Arikapudi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Desiree.
Yes. Okay. So you talk about being rooted, not reinvented. So what does that mean to you? And how can teens or maybe even adults learn to trust their gut in a world that constantly tells us to change?
Yeah, so I think what I mean by saying be you, be the rooted version of you, not reinvented, is like if you imagine a tree as a new year comes along, or even like in its each month as it goes by, it doesn't change the roots that it has. It keeps them, but it loses the leaves. So if you think of that as our roots, our values, the thing that makes us us, the people who we enjoy spending time with, all our hobbies, all our interests, all our strengths, keeping those to be ourselves, being rooted every time we go through every single day, not constantly being like, hey, I have to change everything about me,
Yeah.
but just getting rid of things that don't serve you. And then by trusting your gut, I think a lot of times we say trust your gut for like maybe you want to change your job, you have a different passion, such big ways. But when I think about this as a teenager, I'm like, well, how about we put this into emotions? Trust your gut by acknowledging that you have an emotion. What a
Yes.
lot of people do is nowadays, if they feel an emotion, they feel fear, like they have to conform, they have to be happy like everyone else, and then they suppress their emotion. And I know I've done this a lot, but
Mhm.
what I'm trying to do something new is acknowledge when I have an emotion, label it if I can, and then process it. We can start trusting our gut just by acknowledging our emotions.
And what role does emotional literacy play in trusting your gut? Can you share how tools like your emotional cards deck help teens listen to themselves more clearly?
Definitely. So the emotion cards deck I created is really to help label our emotions, acknowledge them, and then I have a strategy for every single emotion. We have over 80 different emotions in this card deck, and really it helps with trusting your gut because as you select those cards, every time maybe you do once a day or once a week or once a month, every time you pick up that card deck, you're able to learn a new word, label your emotion beyond that. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm mad. But and just by having that practice of expanding your vocabulary, you start to feel confident in acknowledging and labeling your emotions. So next time you feel something other than the so-called neutral or happy, you're then able to trust your instincts, trust your gut, and be okay to label it in a word that's maybe not so often used.
And I like that idea of labeling and identifying your emotions rather than kind of putting them off to the side. What am I feeling? Oh, I'm going to ignore that for later. It really allows you to take a look inside yourself. And your nonprofit called Uplift Teens Today and Nexus, a mental health hub for schools and communities, reaches millions of students. So how do you help teens recognize and honor their gut instincts in decision making and emotional well-being?
Yeah, so through my nonprofit, I have my book, the Emotion Cards Deck, and Nexus. Each of these different resources plays a role in that trusting your gut process. Like the Emotion Cards Deck gives us the words to label our emotions. The book has strategies in my personal mental health journey so people can feel less alone and connect. And then Nexus shares more resources to help yourself and others. So, putting all this together, if someone feels an emotion simply other than happy, maybe they're feeling really stressed out about a test, they can check the card deck, identify it, go to the book and see in the book if there are strategies or the card deck itself. And then if their friend is going through that, they can go to Nexus. So each of these different things through the nonprofit, it's all about how we can change the narrative about mental health, not what we get taught in school if you're either happy or sad,
Yeah.
but give more details, give more ways to express so the next generation can actually, rather than shying away, suppressing their feelings, they can acknowledge them, which can lead them to over time grow and be able to manage more and more emotions and be more comfortable in situations.
Well, we appreciate you in helping changing the narrative around mental health. I think it's so important that people talk about it from young, from being a kid, from being a teen to adults, and you creating this deck of cards and talking at schools, I think just helps make that conversation become more open so people can talk about it. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and to our viewers, practice the art of growing by being rooted, not reinvented. You can find out more by heading to tanvi.us.